is the ADNOC one. Let me just explain this because this is a bit complicated. So the headline is that they gave back cash, right?
Yes.
So let me just explain this. So basically, they fully redeemed its US dollar dominated on senior unsecured bonds. In other words, these are exchangeable bonds. So basically, they issued them in May 21 with an option to settle through a share conversion in May 4, 24, right? And when they say they settled the bonds with a cash payment at 1.195 billion, along with up to 4 million in applicable interest. So that means anyone who bought those bonds in that time were given the cash back.
Yeah.
And you could have exchanged them into shares. So bonds are different to shares, right?
They're like loans, no?
Yeah. Exactly. Companies, usually, often in sukuks and things like that, sukuk is another word for bond, it's an Islamic bond. So often we hear of government bonds and their loans and their fixed income. You have US Treasury bill bonds as well. So what happens when a corporate does it is it acts in the same way as fixed income. And there was an option to convert these into shares. Now what's interesting is this is approximately 7% of ADNOC's distribution share registered capital. So they bought it back. Now if you remember recently, we did a story where IHC under Sheikh Tahun, that conglomerate in Abu Dhabi, they also did buybacks. Yeah. So people say buybacks is a good way of keeping the price high, but also it has different ways of, it allows for companies to sell more shares in the market, again at a different price and different things. It has pros and cons, but this is essentially, it's a redemption of a bond, but it's also kind of like a share buyback. Yeah. So instead of adding the bond into selling more shares, the free float remains unchanged at 23%. So when ADNOC Distribution went public a few years ago, there are 2 or 3 entities of ADNOC public now, and when distribution went public, they sold 23%. This would have been the bonds. Exchangeable would have been issuing 30% of the total value of distribution onto the market.